And we are live. All right. Good evening, Dr. Anupama Sharma. A pleasure to have
How
you.
are you doing? Same here, same here. Thank you so much.
And I have to say that it's a pleasure to have you and share the stage with you. Given all of the great work you've done over the last couple of years and your experience, I'm sure today's conversation is going to be very interesting,
I
right?
hope so.
Yeah, it
Thank
is.
you.
So just so that our audiences know who you are and what you've done, I'm going to have a quick background, reiterate here. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us today. With us, we have Dr. Anupama Sharma. Uh, before let's talk about what she's done in the accolades she's gathered in the recent past. So she's been awarded one of the 100 most inspirational women in India, and this was on International Women's Day. Congratulations.
Thank you
Uh,
so much. Thanks a lot.
and she's also received the Global Excellence Award 2020 and the Humanitarian Excellence Award for the year 2019. So, right, Dr. Anupama Sharma is a psychologist. She's completed her master's in mental health from Minneapolis, USA, and
Mhm.
she's also the founder of Mind Influence India. Right. She's been published in the Times, the Huffington Post, Practo, and a number of other online portals, news journalists, and she's very keen on sharing her insights today on grief. That's the theme that we've talking about this month, right? Um, so, Dr. Sharma, we know that India is devastated with COVID-19. There is a lot of loss of life.
Yes.
Uh, it's one of the it's a crisis at the moment, and I have a lot of my friends, family members who I've lost, and I know that there are a lot of people who are shocked. So for it's a very difficult time for most people, and grief is it's everywhere. You look around, and how do you believe what? Let me to start with, what is grief? How do we know that we are going through it, right?
Okay, so that is a very deep question that you just asked me. What is grief? Anything that would alter the normal sense of life. Your physical, your mental. Grief doesn't actually have to be someone dying. We associate grief generally with people dying.
Right, right.
People dying is trauma. Grief can also be me losing my friend. So grief is it's in various forms. So I think currently we're talking about grief of losing people, right?
Right.
Today in this live we are going to talk about grief of losing someone, correct? To
Yes.
this disease.
Yes.
Yeah, so grief is anything which makes me feel traumatized, which makes me feel altered from my current self, mentally and physically. Anything that pains me very deeply makes me think that I don't want to live. So there is not a particular definition of grief.
Okay. And to in continuity to that question, well, how does it impact your well-being physically?
Yes.
Emotionally, we you have covered that, but physically, what happens? What should
Physically.
we take care of? Yeah.
So there are grief is not something that will happen and go off. Grief is a process. And for every individual it's different. I will experience grief in a very different manner, you might experience it in a very different manner, but there are certain stages of grief that everyone follows through. Yeah, so there are four stages, or there are some aspects, some school of thought which say there are five stages. I believe in four stages of grief. The first one is denial. The moment grief happens, so we are talking about loss again.
Yes.
the
Yes.
moment the moment I realize that I've lost someone, the first thing that will happen to me is denial. I'll go in a state of denial. Some people call it shock as well. Normal terminology may, if we talk about it, it's shock. I'll deny it. I'll not want to believe it, and I'll be like, how can it happen to me? It cannot happen to me. That state, that's the first state of grief, and that's called denial. The second state is anger, resentment, all the whys coming to my head. Why me? Why would God do this to me? Why would this happen to me? Why am I in this place? All the whys, anger, resentment, irritation, frustration, that's the second stage. And this stage also includes crying, sudden bouts of crying, again talking about the physical symptoms. The third stage is depression, if that is a strong word. People feel sad, the sad bouts, mood swings. And then post traumatic stress. I will talk in normal layman language. I'll not want to do anything. I would not want to come out of the bed. I would not feel like eating, or I might end up overeating. I'll not sleep. My sleep patterns would be disrupted. I would be disinterested in life, dysfunctional, and I would not even want to do the bare minimum, the normal activities of daily living. I would fail to do it. That's the third stage. The fourth is acceptance. Before acceptance, there is a temporary stage that comes where I would try to solve the grief within myself. I would try to pacify me by saying, if I could have done this, it would have been better. If we could have done this, it could have been this way. If the doctor didn't do this, it would have been better. If we were able to not if we were able to take the person earlier, it would have been good. So I would try to pacify myself. That's a very temporary stage, and that's the stage. When that stage arrives, understand that you're about to accept this, that you're starting to get okay with the process of grieving. The last step, and the step where everyone wants to be, is acceptance. Acceptance is the first step from where management starts, right? So when in acceptance, I will be okay with the fact that this happened. I'll accept that this has happened. I would still grieve, right? I will still cry, but I will accept the fact that this is done. So I'll find peace with it. So that's how actually grief happens. And that's a process. And there is no timeline, there is no timetable to it. For me, it can be a week. For you, it can be a month. But for some people, it can be a year too.
Right.
So that's the answer to your question.
So, so I believe these are typically the natural responses to grief
Yes,
you've also covered. So,
right.
if you had to break it down in in a very simple, easy to understand way to start this process of healing, what are the strategies you recommend or steps you recommend for somebody who is grieving?
Right. So talking about the management part,
Yes.
be able to manage anything. The first thing that I need to do is acknowledge it. Till the time I don't acknowledge it, I'll not be able to manage it. So the first step here as well to manage grief comes is acknowledge pain. And that's the very step people fail at. We don't acknowledge our pains. We want to run away from it. We'll tell everyone that we are fine when we are not. We'll act as if everything is okay. That is the first step. Acknowledge it. Tell yourself that this is a process. Pain is a process. I will feel sorrow because I am not okay, and it's okay to be not okay. It is not a happy situation that I'm expected of being happy or being okay. So it's not the expectation out of me from people. It's me expecting myself to be strong and okay and handle everything. Yes? So the first step is acknowledge it. Acknowledge the pain. Know that you're paining, know that there is sorrow, and it will be a mix of emotions. You'll feel a lot of emotions, maybe one by one, maybe all at a time. Yes, I'll tell you what emotions you might feel. You might feel helplessness, self pity, grief. Grief again is the sad part of it. You'll feel pain, you'll feel anxious, you'll feel hatred, you might feel resentment. There are many emotions that flow through. So the first step to managing grief is acknowledge it, that this is happening. The second is acceptance. Accept that it's a process, it will take time. Stop hurrying. We want it to get over. It can't get over. There is no shortcut to the grieving process. There is a natural course it will take, and you'll have to let it happen. That's the second step. The third and the most important step is don't isolate yourself. That's when most people fall into depression. People would want to talk to me, but I choose to isolate myself because I want to be with my head, overthink, pity everything, have negative thoughts, which end up being suicidal thoughts. It is a cycle, it is a spiral, it's an oscillation that I'm revolving in. So the third and most important thing is I have to make sure that I don't isolate myself. Be with family, sit with them, do nothing. That would distract you a lot. Talk to friends. Don't shun people away. Talk to friends. If someone wants to talk to you, talk to them. So that's the third important thing. The fourth step would be once you are in the second stage, the stage where you are angry, resentful, and when you know that this is happening and the acceptance is coming in, start working on your everyday things. Start getting busy. Start getting busy. You'll not want to get off the bed, but still do. You'll not want to brush your teeth. Just do the bare minimum. Just the bare minimum. And then, if possible, engage yourself in stuff, keep yourself busy. But what works most, if you want to ask me the strategies, there are two things that work the most. The first one is joining any support group where people who grieve or who know what grief is are present. Talking to friends or talking to people, we don't want to talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about the person. Talk about the happy memories that you have with the person and laugh around them. It doesn't have to be always crying. So you need to start talking to people about your experience. You need to be stop talking about the person. Talk about the person you lost. Talk about your loved one. Talk about anything that you feel about this person. Talk it out. Then support groups. Engage yourself in support groups. Find support groups. There are so many support groups right now, right? If you want, I can, at the end of the session, I can name some. There are so many support groups right now who are offering help. So go to a support group, talk about how you feel, because you have similar people there, and you never know what a person might tell you can help you. Yes.
Right.
The last thing, if you think you're not able to do it, if you're not able to deal with it, you're too tired, you are having suicidal thoughts, you feel anxious a lot, there are so many other things like not eating, sleeplessness. If it is overwhelming you, seek therapy. Go to a counselor, go to a psychologist, maybe go to a psychotherapist, but seek therapy. That's important because these are professionals. We are professionals, we know how to help you deal with it. Yeah.
Right.
And we know how to help you deal with it the way it suits you.
Understood.
Right? So these are certain things you can do, but at the same time, you need to understand, I'll say it 100 times, that it is a process. It will take time. You cannot just think that in 1 week I should be okay. You cannot be. Yes?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Sharma, this is something that you are working on, and this a process that you are going through.
Mhm.
What can your friends, or now this is more related to what can the rest of the people around you do to make this process easier? Is there a recommended
Yes.
approach? If I, as a friend, had to, of course, console somebody and be a part of his journey while he's grieving, what would you recommend I do or somebody do?
Just be yourself. You don't need to console.
Okay.
Be yourself. That's a wrong conditioning we've been dealing with. The society wants us to console. That will make the person feel worse. Just be yourself. Just talk to the person. Ask questions like, and be empathetic. Be very empathetic, not sympathy. So you can ask questions
Yeah.
like, yeah, ask questions like, what can I do? How can I help you? Give them a hug. Don't ask them, just hug them tight. Take them out. Order something for them. Do something that will help them cheer up. Just be yourself with them. Ask them if they talk to them about talking again. Talk to them about the person. Ask them if they want to talk to you about the person. Yeah, maybe you talk to them about the person and how the good memories. Not like I feel bad for you, I'm sorry for your loss. No, that doesn't work. That would not work.
Yeah, typically that's okay. That's an interesting insight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, so you- so it's more about actions. But if I had to encourage you, if I had to encourage and evoke, most of when you're grieving, at times you want to stay quiet, and the person does not speak. What
Mhm.
are the best things you can say to someone to evoke or to who's grieving? It's I know you may have covered it, but if we have to just focus on this part, what
The,
could we do?
you're talking about the words.
Yes.
What
What are
can
positive, those keywords that could uh, motivate them to
sometimes
better?
I'll come to the words, but sometimes you can just be there. Be in the same room with the person. Just put on something, put on some music and be there. That can help the person because that will give them space to open up. Yeah, that's also very important. We need to give them space to open up. So just be there. Just order something, be there. That will help them open up fast. Again, coming to words, what kind of words I can use? So, words of consolation would not help. That will make the person remember the incident, not the loved one.
Oh,
So, words have to be related to something which is, you can ask them if they want to talk about the loved one. You can share your experience with them, any experience that you have, right? If you know the loved one, you can talk about the good memories or the memories you had with the loved one. Okay, you can start talking with this person about them and you, their relationship, the relationship you have. You can tell them that you're so lucky to have them in your life, how blessed you feel. Again, you can hug them. You can you can just order stuff for them, be there for them. I think, yeah, there are no particular words.
oh,
Yeah, there are no particular words that you'll say because grieving is very different for everyone. I don't know what word would help me
yeah.
with grieving. Yes. So I think gestures mixed with words and empathy and being there, showing the love, care, and affection that you have for this person, and just being there. When a person is grieving, the most that they need is someone being there with them,
Okay. So
offering this space that they can call you at 3 a.m. and you'll be there. So that's something that's the person would be needing more than words.
um, my this is going to be so I believe let me just quickly, I had made a few notes. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about today was the natural responses to grief, what it does to you, your body,
Mm,
strategies to manage. We've covered that. um,
mm,
I've even tried the questions, what we should talk to somebody about grieving, that's covered. And
mm.
is there how do you accept the I think this has also been covered, but let me bring this up again. This is a question I had: is how do you accept the loss of a loved one?
Again, it will take time.
Fine. Okay. Okay.
It will take time. I told you that you'll first be in denial. I'll give you my story, right? I recently lost a very close person. Yeah, it's last week. It's not even a week. Last Wednesday, more than a week now. Okay, so yeah, so what happened to me? I'll talk of personal experience. The first thing, I was in shock for 2 days. I couldn't just register it. Acceptance comes very late. You'll first not be able to understand that this happened, right? It would be mixed with crying. It's different for everyone, I'll say again. I'm telling you my experience. So first was denial. Then was resentment. I would resent it. I would not agree to the fact that this has happened, and I was not able to talk about this person in past tense. है था नहीं निकलता है मुंह से, right? So that's the another thing that happened with me. And then eventually I came to a fact where at least 2 3 days I wasn't able to. Being a psychologist, I would accept this, and I want every human being to accept it. I was not able to get out of bed. I did not brush my teeth for one day. And then the acceptance came that, okay, this is it. I have to accept it because I have to work around getting better with this thing. So, acceptance will not come immediately. There are people who will show that they're okay, they're not okay. That's denial. When I tell you that I'm okay, I'm in shock, I'm in denial. Yes, so it takes time. Acceptance will come with time. And how much time? I don't know. Every person has a different way of dealing with it.
I appreciate you sharing something so personal to you.
Yes, yes.
And I'd like to go back to uh, something you brought up, is that, reach out to support groups. Uh,
Yes.
so what do you expect? What can I expect in a support group
So,
when I
support
go to that?
groups are groups of people who've experienced similar things like you. So, we have support groups for LGBT community. Then we have for depression, anxiety. There are various support groups, and we have support groups for grief as well. Okay. So there would be people who have lost someone there. It will not. You cannot. What not to expect is a person who will give you advice, professional advice. No, support groups are often misinterpreted as therapy or misinterpreted as help. No, you'll find similar people who will find you'll find people who have had similar experiences, and support groups are for talking and venting out. You talk to them because these people understand you. If you talk to me and I don't know what grief is and you're grieving, I'll not be able to help you because I can't empathize, because I've not been there. So support group may you'll find people who've been there and they can actually empathize. And maybe they have some strategies which they used for themselves, and maybe that can be helpful to you. You never know. So it's basically finding support with people who know what you're going through and who can help you with this journey. That's support group.
Okay. Okay. And would you these sessions are done obviously they're going to be done remotely now, so do you have anything to recommend at the top of your head, which support groups, or we can always?
Currently, there is a very good support group. It's relatively new. It's an app. It's called Jumping Minds,
Okay.
right? They have support for everything. So I'm again talking of personal experience. I have asked a couple of my patients who needed support with grief and immediate help. I've asked them to go there, explore. So they have they have a huge interface, and you're feeling stressed, you're feeling depressed, you have your childhood issues, teenage issues, anything, you'll find help there. So there are people who are there who have had similar issues and they're ready to help. You can also become a warrior there. If you think that you've been through grief and you've accepted it, you want to help people, you can just be there and help people. So it's such a community, and I think it's a very good community.
Okay.
So that's one thing that comes to my head.
Thank you. I think what we'll do is after the video, we'll post it along and share it on our pages as well. Thank you for letting us know. Is there, so we're towards the end of our session. Uh, is there anything else that you feel I may have not covered when it comes to grief, bereavement, and
So the only thing I would want to, like I said earlier, the conditioning. The way we see grief is very different. We need to start changing that in our head. That's very, very, very important, right? We see grief as something which is very painful, which definitely is painful, but which is something we don't. Even people say this. I would not want to talk about death. Yeah, people don't want to talk about it, and that's what makes it more difficult. Because that's where we are running from it, and when we are running of it, there is no acceptance of it. When we talk about childbirth, everyone is happy, anyone can talk, but no one is ready to talk about that death, and that's wrong. That's wrong. So that's the first, I think thing we need to start changing is the conditioning. We need to start accepting that this is a part of life, and it's okay. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to feel it, and it's not something that has to be painful all the time. If I see someone who's lost someone last week, and if I see them on Instagram or any social media posting pictures, I'll be like, I'll judge them. That's wrong. That's wrong. Right? So that's where I'm coming from. We need to start normalizing grief. If I've lost someone and I am trying to be happy, I have all the rights to be happy. But people expect me to be crying all the time because I lost someone. Right? So that's what we need to change. We need to start normalizing grief. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you again. We have a question.
Yes, please.
Would you like? I'll just read it out. It's from Sumer Bajaj.
Hi.
As a friend, I have, sorry, as a friend, I have a close one grieving who doesn't want to accept the situation. Is there
Hmm.
anything one can do, or should only time be given to the person and space be held for them?
Okay, so first off, I think acceptance will take time, like I said. So we should be giving time to them. Everyone has their own journey, own time to process it. And if we feel that while the person is taking time and they are not still coming out of it, that's where therapy comes in. You should seek help. When you see there are certain physical signs of depression, of anxiety, of isolation, right? When you see that it is happening, and if you see the person is trying to self harm or any of it, or talks of self harm, talks of suicide, talks of ending their lives, what's the meaning of life? When you see things not happening gradually, that's when you should speak to a professional. Otherwise, I think you should give time to the person so that they get fine and they accept it eventually.
I hope we've been able to cover, the response for Sumer Bajaj. Dr. Sharma, how can we reach out to you? How can our audiences reach out to you if we?
With Instagram, yeah. So you can reach out to me on Instagram. My profile is Dr. Anupama Sharma, Dr. Anupama Sharma. So yes.
And you're taking new patients. I assume.
Yes, we're taking we are full with patients right now. Yeah. Everyone is grieving, believe me. Everyone is grieving because of a loss, or they're scared of the loss, or they're scared of their own death. Yes.
Yeah. It's actually a very scary time,
Yes, it is.
and this is slightly out of context, but uh, one quick one. It's mainly about there's grief even to get being getting COVID-19. So what do you tell somebody who gets COVID-19? Because I came across an article, and the
Mhm.
person got depressed because he got COVID-19. He was grieving about that. So we have just 2 minutes, so if you can quickly. Yeah, so what do you tell somebody who's got it and now he's like, oh my god, how did this happen, right?
Right. So again, this is another concept. We are human beings and we want control. When things fall out of control, we don't know what to do. Acceptance. It's not that easy, like I said, but yes, I need to accept that things are not in control right now. The world is not in control. Yes, and COVID 19, I don't have to be as scared as it shows. So I need to control this, because this is what tells me so many things.
The mind. Yeah, yeah. It's
I
very
need to be here in the present and tell myself that okay, I'm fine right now. Nothing has happened to me. So why worry? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. So
Anything.
I believe you see the focus is mental strength and
Yes.
develop that, right? Yes.
That is the only thing that will help you get across this time. That is the only thing that's going to take you off from here. Your mental strength.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad we end on this note. Uh, Once again, guys, thank you, thank you for joining us. And I hope
Thank you.
if you need any help, please feel free to reach out to Dr. Sharma, and she's available on Instagram. We'll put her handle out on our posts on YouTube. If you want to, uh, revisit the content available, it's available on our YouTube and Facebook channel and Instagram as well. Dr. Sharma, thank you for your time, and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for touching such an important topic. Yeah.
I look forward to speaking with you again.
Sure. All right. Take care.